Matza Brei is all about technique. It has nothing to do with ingredients. All I use is matzah and egg. That's it. And a little bit of water. I'm going to take a piece of matzah. That's how much I break it. I'm not going to break it into little confetti pieces or the whole thing is going to turn into cement later on. I have lukewarm water. Slightly warm. I fill it up just enough to cover the matzah. And I'm going to do this a couple of times. I'm letting the water get in. I'm not really going to let it soak. And I test it. You hear that? It's much too loud. I have to get it until a muffled crack. It's going to... There we go. That's the sound you wanted. If I waited a couple seconds longer, it would get mushy and doughy and it would turn into paste. Okay? Now, in a separate bowl, I'm going to crack an egg. This is a pretty large egg to use for just one piece of matzah, but just means I won't use as much water. Alright? There we go. Now, I don't beat with a whisk. It doesn't give you as much control. Use a fork. Now you take a look at the quantity that you're going to have to cover and you realize you're going to need to add a little bit of water. Just a little bit. And you want now is a completely even consistency. The fact that I can see egg, it means it's not right yet. There we go. Now I'm covering it like this and I'm immediately introducing the egg into the layers to get in there. Notice I'm not mushing it around. I'm folding it in. I want the matzah to start soaking it in. Now I'm going to leave this for a second, doing nothing at all. And now and only now do I light the stove. This is going to be a moderately high flame. You want to see the flame there? Alright. It's a high medium flame. It's number 5 on my 5-6 high. And this is nowhere near ready yet. You can see there's even water in that pan from having washed. So I come back here. I've only left this for a few seconds. And I'm going to continue. This is an important part of the technique, is that I'm not going to let it settle. What I'm doing is I'm always exposing the parts of the matzah that need to be soaked. Alright? That's only going to be good for a little while. Over here at the pan, because I started with a very cold pan, I'm not going to put in any oil yet until it's hot enough. It's another very, very important part of the technique. This is not a Teflon pan. This is a standard steel frying pan. Now I'm going to wet my fingertips and I'm going to go like this. It's almost ready. There was a little bit of a sizzle there, but not yet. What I want is to get to that point where the water will dance in like little marbles on there. Let's try that again. There, you see that?
Yeah.
Turn those off and it's ready for the oil. Now, it's not deep fried, but it's not skimpy either. I want a little bit of wave. At this point, the main thing you want to do is cover the surface, all right? It doesn't need a lot more time. I take my matzah and I'm going to do one last stir because you don't want to just have a big sea. Now, here's a real tricky part to the technique. Did you notice how I swept it back? I wanted to cover as much surface area as I could because you can't move it yet. So this is the time for it to cover the space. This is the part of the process that takes the most time. I just kind of let it sit for a minute or so. The thing about the matzah is, as hot as this pan was, that matzah soaked up all the heat. It's really much too cool now to cook with, because it really, really soaks it up. So this is kind of the wait and see part. I'm going to kind of tease it a little bit just to see that I'm not getting it sticking. And if you notice, this had nothing to do with ingredients. It's pure technique. All right, it's sliding around a little bit. That's good. Now, I'm going to kind of flip it, but I'm not just going to flip it like a pancake. This is where I start to make it break up a little bit. Very, very gently, because you don't want anything to end up sticking to the pan because it wasn't cooked well enough. And you see all that wet stuff? So the rest of the game is going to be a matter of like folding it over and folding it over. It's not just like flipping a burger at this point though, because you're not just cooking it to dry each one out, or it's just going to be too dry. You want a little bit of juiciness without any of that slimy raw egg kind of feeling to it. All right? Now I'm going to have to let it catch up to itself a little bit. There's quite a bit of oil here. I used a little bit more oil than I would normally use for just one piece of matzo. Usually that's for like a piece and a half or two. So I'm going to let it cook. And there's going to come a point very shortly when it's doing fine, and I'm going to turn off the flame and let it cook on the residual heat of the pan while I let it sit. Again, this has more oil than I would normally use for this quantity. See what I just did? I noticed something that was just a little bit wet on one side. I tried to get it into contact with the pan. Alright, and turn it off. Let it sit. Call everybody in for breakfast. Blah, blah, blah. When this cools down just a bit, then I'm going to serve it right onto the plates. No plates! Here. It slides very easily right onto the plate. And I can feed my daughters. Emma, did you want more or no?
Yes.
Yes, please. Now, Emma, over here, look, come over. Emma likes her Ilana plate, and she's having seconds already. She likes to have jam, strawberry jam or raspberry jam, to dip it in. Alright? So this is going to be fluffy. It's not going to be dry. It's not going to be caked. It's not going to be heavy. And comes out a little bit differently every time, but within the range, it'll still be the best.
Within the range of perfect.
Within the range of perfect. It's going to be the best matza brei you've ever had. The way I learned this was my grandmother used to make an incredible matza brei when I was a kid, and we didn't call it that. We called it fried matza. And after she was no longer there to do it for us, I tried to do it her way, and I just practiced every day from then on. And I came up with all the little techniques. The key is the timing, all right? That muffled crack, just the right temperature of water, take it out soon enough, let this get to the right temperature, the sizzling, all those little things. It's all technique. Matza brei.